Hello and welcome. I'm Kate Laycock in Germany. We've gone a bit de-mob happy in anticipation of the holidays here on Inside Europe. So deck the bows because everyone's a winner, or should that be singer, in Spain's Christmas National Lottery draw. Also, Christmas is coming early to Ukraine, and when it comes to festive feasts, nobody does it quite like Norway.
And then, of course, you have lutefisk, which is the weirdest thing on the menu, you can call it, but either you love it or you hate it. A lot of people have bad experiences because if you don't make it right, it can be a little bit jello-y because it's been lying in basically poison.
Christmas is nearly upon us, and in Spain, that can only mean one thing. It's time for El Gordo, the big one. No, I'm not talking about Santa, but about the annual Christmas National Lottery draw, which takes place on December 22nd. Bit of an anticlimax, you're thinking? Well, get this. El Gordo has a tradition going back 2 centuries and a combined jackpot of €2.5 billion, making it the richest lottery in the world. Also, school children sing out the lottery numbers. Honestly, that really is a thing. Here's our Madrid correspondent, Ashish Sharma, to explain it to us.
It's break time, and I'm here at one of the many state schools in Madrid. This one is called San Ildefonso. Children are running about, some playing football, one group on some climbing frames, and another happy to follow their playground monitor around. Seems like a normal school. But the San Ildefonso is a bit special. Every year, students from this school, who are 12 years or older, are selected to sing the Christmas National Lottery. The event goes out live on Spanish television just before Christmas Day. Singing the lottery has been a tradition from this school which goes back over 200 years. The San Ildefonso is the second oldest school in Madrid and started life back in 1543, providing education to orphans and abandoned children. Well, I've come along today to rehearsals taking place of some of the children who will be singing this year. The school has one part which offers lodgings from Monday to Friday for children who are not able to stay at home during the week. This could be due to financial reasons, single parents, or simply parents who have hours which make it difficult to look after their kids during the week. The children selected to sing come from these lodgings.
The lottery is a stamp of identity for the school, because the children of San Ildefonso have now been offering this service for many generations, bringing a lot of happiness to many people.
That's Maria Carmen Jimenez, director of the residential part of the school.
¿Qué? Ah, vale.
Todo 1.000 euros hasta arriba.
10.099 euros.
Anthony is rehearsing today and he's going to be singing for the first time this year. Last year he took part, but his role was selecting the balls which had the ticket number and the prize amount. 2 students then sing on stage. One sings the ticket number, the other the amount of money that ticket is won. And they all hope that they get to sing the jackpot prize of €4 million, known as El Gordo, the fat one.
When you pick the balls, you're at the back, behind the scenes. It's very different when you're singing. I suppose I'm a bit scared in case I make a mistake. But I wanted to sing because I think it's really cool and I like it. And also, my brother couldn't sing, so I wanted to sing for him and for me. And of course, my family is very proud that I'll be singing the lottery. It also makes me happy to think that I could play a part in helping families win some money.
The children are not chosen so much for their singing, but for their ability to read numbers well and fluently, and the pairings are decided by voices that complement each other. The audition takes place in October, and when everything is decided, that's when weekly rehearsals begin.
I've seen changes in a lot of boys and girls, which is the most wonderful thing. Children who were so shy that they could barely speak in public have been capable of going on stage at the Royal Theatre, singing in front of everyone and doing it well. I've cried with emotion at seeing their development and the opportunity given to many of them thanks to this lottery.
The process is inclusive, and students who want to sing but don't get picked are encouraged to come back and try the following year. Two best friends, Natalia and Paula, will be singing together. They took part last year, but 13-year-old Paula says it will be more special this time round to sing with her friend.
It happened because one day Natalia and me, we practiced with an educator, and she said, you are singing very good. And other day when it's going to select the person that is going to the Christmas lottery, say Natalia and Paula is sing very good. I have a good memory with her, and I say, Natalia, come with me to practice to say that we sing very well.
Número 5.490, premiado con 4 millones de euros en cada serie.
The Christmas lottery is watched by millions on TV as it goes out live from the National Theatre here in Madrid. And while most enjoy watching the children sing, in reality everyone is just hoping that their ticket number gets to win El Gordo. Which reminds me, I still haven't bought mine. Ashish Sharma, DW, Madrid.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that Ashish was going to sing his own sign-off there, but I guess there's always next year. One thing is for certain, though, Spain's Christmas lottery draw is a triumph of marketing, and that is precisely the area of expertise of Anastasia Baidachenko, CEO of IAB, or Interactive Advertising Bureau Ukraine, a non-profit specialising in digital standards and brand health. Now, you might remember Anastasia from an interview that we did with her last year, when she was explaining the guerrilla marketing techniques her organisation was employing in a bid to puncture Putin's propaganda bubble. At any rate, if there is one person who understands a thing or two about messaging, then it is Anastasia. So I called her up in Kyiv to get a sense of what Christmas means to Ukrainians nearly 2 years into an unrelenting war for both personal and national survival. Had Christmas come to the capital, I asked.
I think that our city authorities try to keep a kind of Christmas mood despite all these risks and air raid sirens, because in December we have a lot of air raid sirens, and it is the main problem of our autumn and winter, I could say. We try to keep this Christmas mood in our hearts, and as for me, the main lesson of war was to understand the value of every moment. That is why if there is no bombing, it's a good day. If it is Christmas or any holiday, it's a good day. Let's feel it, let's love it, because war brings us feeling that life could be very short. That is why we keep this Christmas mood in our hearts despite all this terrible war we have, and our country and our people have. The previous week we have dramatic experience because we have industry discussion in TV studio, and it was the first time we have this airing during the air raid sirens. And it was a very risky type of air raids. It was six MiGs in the air, and they have very dangerous rockets called Kinjals that reach any target at the territory of Ukraine, because they're like ballistic or air ballistic, I'm not sure, but they're very quick and very, very destructive. That is why we feel a little bit afraid of. But we finished this airing and this live with the words of thank you to our air defense guys, and thank them very much, because actually they give us possibility in a wartime, in a very dangerous place, to have airing on our industry questions. So I repeat that our hope is on our air defense guys and our armed forces.
I mean, those are incredibly powerful messages, and I feel that sort of Christmas messaging, you know, even in peacetime, it's about love and togetherness and family and sharing that sort of time together. But the Ukrainian advertising industry is tapping into a sort of a pool of emotion where those things are just so fraught because so many families are grieving or are separated. What kind of messages are resonating? How is the industry treading that tightrope?
As for communication messages, most of them are, as for me, typical. For example, New Year or Christmas, they are typical, but they have some signs of wartime. For example, a lot of have a special link or QR codes for donation, for charity funds or armed forces, or promises to donate some certain percent of sales revenues to charity. It's like scars of war on advertising. But mostly strategically, the holiday communication messages are almost the same that we have 3 or 5 years ago. They are typical New Year or Christmas communication, despite the war.
There's a big difference in Ukraine this year, and that is that normally Ukrainians would be celebrating Christmas on January 7th, in line with the Orthodox calendar. This year, it's been moved to December 25th. Why is that, and what kind of a difference does it make?
As for me, it makes actually little difference, but some disputes about this date changing are still active, mostly with some religious people, but as for me, it's actually no problem, but more possibilities for marketers to sell more goods, more gifts, and actually to double their sales.
I suppose also from a government perspective, it's what in the advertising world might be known as a rebranding exercise, isn't it? Because it's very much aligning the Ukrainian calendar with the other countries in Europe and removing it from Russia.
Yes, I think that it's a good rebranding move.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but it's a time of Christmas messages, and I've got you here. You've got a platform. Is there perhaps a sort of a Christmas message, maybe a Christmas card, if you like, that you would like to send to somebody? If you had this chance to sort of send a message at this moment, who would it be to? What might you say?
I suppose it's an obvious word, but pray for peace, because when we have war, we deeply understand and feel actually by all our skin and heart the value of peace, the true value of peace. In deep of our heart, all of us want peace, and I could wish to have this peace all over the world. It's the most important message I have, peace for all the planet.
Anastasia Baidachenko is CEO of IAB, or Interactive Advertising Bureau, Ukraine. The Christmas tree may still be twinkling on Kyiv's Sofia Square, but the grim reality is that this year, once again, soldiers will be spending the holiday season in trenches dug out of European soil. Earlier this year, we spoke to the Ukrainian literary scholar Tetiana Orgakova about the hope that she takes from the work of the 19th century Ukrainian poet Lesya Ukrainka. We'd like to share that tribute with you now.
For me, Lesya is the founder of what we are and what we'd like to become. It was a prodigious woman, speaking in many foreign languages and representing this intellectual tradition. She was in close dialogue with European history, with European tradition, but at the same time, she was so deeply Ukrainian, and she was just providing us with this possibility to link both, Ukraine to European tradition, to ancient, to Greek tradition, for example. And I would say that her life could be an example,
Геть ти думи, ви хмари осінні, тож тепер весна золота. Чи то так у жалю у голосінні проминуть молоді літа? Ні, я хочу крізь сльози сміятись.
Thoughts away, you heavy clouds of autumn, for now springtime comes, a gleam with gold. Shall thus in grief and wailing for ill fortune all the tale of my young years be told? No, I want to smile through tears and weeping, sing my songs where evil holds its sway. Hopeless, a steadfast hope forever keeping, I want to live, your thoughts of grief away. In the long dark ever viewless night time, not one instant shall I close my eyes. I'll seek forever for the star to guide me, she that reigns bright mistress of dark skies. Yes, I'll smile, indeed, through tears and weeping, sing my songs where evil holds its sway. Hopeless, a steadfast hope forever keeping, I shall live, your thoughts of grief away. That tribute to the iconic Ukrainian poet Lesya Ukrainka was by Tatiana Ogakova, literary scholar and head of international outreach for the Ukraine Crisis Media Centre. It was originally broadcast as part of our Women of Europe special, which won 2 gold medals at this year's Signal Awards. One of those medals was a listener prize, so thank you so much once again to all of you who voted for us. I'm Kate Laycock in Germany. Our festive programme resumes in just a minute. That's here on Inside Europe. You know how English football fans like to chant, "It's coming home"? Well, that is exactly how Norwegians feel about Christmas. And to be fair, the word Yule is Old Norse for the marking of midwinter celebrations that predate the birth of Christ. Also, they've got a whole host of food-related Yule traditions, and the gusto with which they celebrate has something distinctly Viking-esque about it. Or so Lars Bavanger claims, at any rate.
Let me just start with a warning to any children listening. Yes, some Norwegians do eat reindeer at Christmas, but other and slightly stranger dishes are far more popular.
Yeah, that's it's weird.
Thomas Broughton is the manager at Stortorvets Gjestgiveri, one of Oslo's oldest restaurants. They serve some 15,000 Christmas meals in the run-up to and during Christmas. Belly pork served with sausages, sauerkraut and potatoes tops the bill. But other much older traditions linger, explains Thomas, like pinnekjøtt, loosely translated to stick meat.
Which is salted dried lamb. And then, of course, you have lutefisk, which is the weirdest thing on the menu, you can call it. But either you love it or you hate it. A lot of people have bad experiences because if you don't make it right, it can be a little bit jello-y. Because it's been lying in, basically, poison.
Yes, poison. Lutefisk is dried cod that traditionally was soaked in water and ash to regain its moisture. Now, water and ash become lye, also known as caustic soda. But fear not, the fish is thoroughly rinsed before being served. Think that is strange? Well, you should try rakfisk, trout that has been left to rot.
It has a lot of the either you like it or you don't kind of thing. But then again, it's not that different, I think, to smoked salmon in a way. But yeah, it's basically rotten fish. But it doesn't look that rotten.
Both the pinnekjøtt, dried lamb ribs, lutefisk, dried and re-soaked cod, and rakfisk, fermented trout, stem from a time before refrigeration when other methods were needed to keep the food from going off. Well, except for the rakfisk, which has gone off in a way.
My name is Tor Andreasen. I'm working as a chef at Stortorget.
Chef Tor Andreasen has been making Christmas dinners at restaurant Stortorvet for 11 years.
The most special one is definitely the lutefisk. It came from stockfish. Basically, it's the dry cod. You don't know when it started with the lute.
Lute is Norwegian for lye, by the way. You know, that caustic soda.
I read about it yesterday. It's from 1500 something. It's the first time someone wrote down how to do it. Before they used water and ash, now they use caustic soda.
So that sounds like basically poisoning the food.
Yeah, basically. But it's way better than that.
Most of the Christmas dinners served here are for business Christmas parties, known as julebord in Norwegian, direct translation, Christmas table.
A lot of businesses are taking all their employees out on a good night. Usually it's often quite high consummation of beer and other alcoholic beverages.
It can get quite lively.
Yeah, I would say that.
Beer and aquavit are the drinks of choice, aquavit being Norway's version of whiskey, brewed on potatoes and flavoured with spices. This year, 1 in 2 Norwegians have said they'll attend a julebord, and 70% of them are celebrating with colleagues. I catch up with one of them who's actually chosen rotten fish as a starter.
I think it was once I was forced to eat it out of politeness. And I had a taste, and it was not that bad, really. But the other thing with it is, like, with a lot of Norwegian Christmas food, there's a lot of toppings and trimmings that kind of covers the taste, too. So it's the total experience where you basically have to have all the other ingredients that kind of even it out, and then it's not too bad.
Yes, if you thought eating cod was the healthy choice, think again, says manager Thomas Bråten.
Even the lutefisk is quite heavy because you have bacon on it and stuff like that. So there's nothing delicate about those dishes. Me, myself, I'm usually in some sort of food coma when I'm done with it because it's so heavy. It takes so much energy of your body to consume it.
Lars Bevanger, DW, Oslo.
I'm feeling pretty stuffed myself after all that. I think I might just manage to cram in a word for our podcast. However, it is available on all the usual platforms, and that now includes DW's new podcast channel on YouTube, where you will find us alongside other programmes like this one.
Don't drink the milk.
Don't drink the milk.
Don't drink the milk.
No, this isn't a podcast about milk. If you like historical intrigue, a bit of culture, and a sprinkling of controversy, this one's for you. I'm Rachel Stewart, and I'm travelling around Europe, following the hidden history of everyday things as they're exported through time and around the world, by force, by chance, or by choice. No need to pack your bags. Just subscribe to Don't Drink the Milk wherever you listen to podcasts.
And the same, of course, goes for the Inside Europe podcast. A big thank you to all of you who have left us 5-star ratings, likes or reviews over the past year. We really are so grateful for these because they help us to grow our audience and to reach more people with our European stories. This is Inside Europe, and I'm Kate Laycock in Germany. You're listening to Inside Europe. I'm Kate Laycock in Germany. It is Christmas, and that can only mean one thing. Yep, after a whole year of waiting, and actually I'm just speaking for myself here since this is genuinely one of my favourite parts of the job, it is once again time for the Inside Europe Christmas Ring Round. That's when I get to call up correspondents in different countries and have a festive chat. This year the twist is that I've asked everyone to think of something that's given them joy this past year, and I am really looking forward to the responses. Let's try Lisa Louis in Paris first. Let's see if she's picking up.
Hello.
Hello, Lisa. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you, Kate?
I am very well, yeah. Am I speaking to Lisa Louis in Paris?
Yes, that's it.
Is Paris in full festive swing?
Well, I always felt, since I've arrived here in 2005, I've always felt that they don't really know how to celebrate Christmas. There's just not enough decoration and glamour.
I didn't have you down as a sort of tinsel and glitz person at all.
Well, no, but, I just love the very commercial feeling of Christmas, with all the lights. And it just reminds me of my childhood. I grew up in Marburg, which is in the center of a small town in the center of Germany. And it was always, a very nice time.
I did not know that about your background. So this is why you're such a polyglot, because there must be a French. I mean, Lisa Louis, it must be like you must be genuinely French as well, right?
No, I'm 100% German.
I did not realise that.
Yeah.
How did you end up in France?
Well, I went there because, I arrived here because I did a double diploma with my former University of Münster, and I was studying economics. And then I had a look around, and there was this very well-known, recognised private journalism school, which is called Centre de Formation des Journalistes in Paris. There was an opportunity to apply as a foreigner, and I got in. So I did that. Sorry, this is going on forever. I know. It's a very long story.
This is fast. This is such a European story.
And then once I got through it, and once it was finished, I thought, all that, and then going back to Germany, it doesn't really make sense. So I decided to stay on, and here I am,
Sorry, just don't want to get hung up on this name thing, but you do pronounce your last name Louis, don't you? Not Louise, so... Or have I been mispronouncing your name all this time?
Everybody asks me that every time I go on air. So the only reason why I'm saying please pronounce it Louis in English is because if you say Louis, as you normally pronounce it in German, then English speakers tend to put an E at the end.
You would rather be sort of misread as French than misread as extremely girly.
Exactly.
I can't believe we've worked together all this time and I didn't know that. I'm so sorry. I feel really bad now. But there's something else. You see, I have been doing a bit of research, and there is something that I feel that I do know about you that gives me a little window into your secret soul. And this is because when I said to you, look, Lisa, we'd really, really like to talk to you for the Christmas Ring Round because you've been such a trooper for the show. Come, join us. Your response was, I'm quite a serious person. I don't know if I'm the person to ask. And then I saw this video, and you're going to have to describe what it is.
I didn't really say I'm a serious person. I might have said I'm not that much of a cultural person. I'm not, going from one theatre to the next. But there is something, and that's what you saw in the video, that I really love when I'm not on air and I'm not writing and I'm not doing radio reports. And that is dancing. It's salsa dancing. And so you saw me dance. That night, I must say, I was really full of energy. Cubans would kill me if I said salsa dancing because they call it casino.
So you're not going from sort of Parisian theatre to Parisian theatre, but you are sort of flitting from Parisian bar to Parisian bar, doing Cuban salsa dancing.
Yeah, I'm invading the dance floors, I think.
Amazing. I mean, the video that you saw is extraordinary. I mean, you've got such movement, and and you're quite a tall person. And what's amazing is that the movement comes from your shoulders.
Yeah, it's what they call isolation. So you need to isolate different parts of your body, So you move your shoulders without moving anything else. You can move your chest, and you can obviously move your hips. And I just love delving into this isolation body movement, and just move to the music. And then I don't think of anything work-related, which is really nice.
Amazing. I saw, 3 minutes of mobile phone footage, if that, and you were in this absolutely packed bar, and yet you looked as though you were sort of completely in your own zone. I mean, you didn't tread on anybody's toes. You were just like totally in the groove.
You're very kind. You're being very kind there. But
well, I can't dance at all, so I'm always very, very, very impressed by people who can. But genuinely, it was quite something.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think when you dance, that's the big advantage of when you go dancing. You are in your own bubble. And then I've been dancing since 2017. So I started salsa dancing back then. And the more you dance, and I'm still taking lessons, and I think I will take lessons my whole life because, as long as I'm dancing, because I just love the fact that there is so much to learn and it never ends. And the more you progress, the more you actually kind of can control how you dance, where you dance. When it's really packed, your steps are smaller, you're very centered in yourself, you're very whole, you feel very whole. It's not a coincidence that there's something called dance therapy. It is like therapy. You go back to, who you are, to your person, to how you feel in your body, and you're just completely present in the moment. And there is no such thing as breaking news when you're on the dance floor,
Oh, fantastic. Well, happy Christmas, Lisa.
Well, I hope to meet you on the dance floor in the future.
Ah, now there's a challenge.
That's the New Year's challenge.
I think that Lisa Louis, or should that be Lisa Louise, probably knows that I'm not going to take her up on that offer because I know my limitations and dancing's definitely where they kick in. I better get myself back on solid ground. So, solid ground. Yeah. Let's call Thomas Sparrow in Berlin.
Hello, Thomas Sparrow.
Hi, Thomas. How are you doing?
Hello, Kate. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. Do you have snow in Berlin?
It is snowing, and I would actually love to be now in my vegetable garden, but instead I am in the office. Okay, I've still got a good view, but it's not as good as in my garden.
You are on topic, as always, because I did want to talk to you about your garden, because I knew that this was a really big part of your life, because the first time that we ever met in person, which was shockingly recently, it was this year, it was in the summer, do you remember? It was at the Global Media Forum. Right, you were hobbling around on crutches, and it was a garden injury?
It's a bit embarrassing to have to admit this, but yes, I broke my ankle while gardening. Can you believe that?
So I remember you telling me that, and I was like, no, you've got to improve your story. You need to have at least been installing like aquaponic shark tanks or something.
The good news is that I'm basically recovered. I was able to continue with my gardening, and that has actually helped me a lot in the last few months.
I was going to say, gardening's supposed to be relaxing. How are you managing to get injured?
No, it is relaxing. I want to first say, I normally talk to you as a political correspondent, but I am now also, let's say, your gardening correspondent. Gardening has become, in the last few years, really a passion for me, since we managed to get a small garden outside of Berlin. And I was trying to actually think why it is such an interesting thing for me, why it is something that gives me so much peace. And I happened to realize that during the week, I'm actually concerned about discussing big political events, stories about, complex weapon deliveries to Ukraine or Germany's budget chaos. My main concern at the weekend, especially during the summer, is how to get rid of the snails that are eating my vegetables, or now in autumn, how to get rid of all the acorns that are falling from the oak trees and that are basically a pain to get rid of if you're going to rake all the leaves. So it's actually a nice change. You go from complex weapons systems during the week and parliamentary discussions to having a snail as your main goal at the weekend.
This is really interesting. This is a theme this year. I think this probably says quite a lot about the state of the world. The last person I spoke to was Lisa Louis in Paris, and she salsa dances for the same reason. It's about finding something where you're completely tuned out of what's going on in the sort of the world of politics, current affairs.
Absolutely, because during the week, you're sitting trying to understand what is actually happening, and there is a lot happening. And it's something that really affects you also, well, in your head mostly, but because journalism is also something where you have to think a lot. Whereas if you're gardening, you actually get your hands filthy dirty. You're actually on your knees. You're sort of fiddling with, weed or gardening with plants. You're trying to understand how they work. And by the way, it's not only something that we journalists do and that we journalists like. I remember reading some time ago that former German Chancellor Angela Merkel also used to basically go to her garden where she grew up and weed.
This is the only context in which I have ever heard you compare yourself to the former Bundeskanzlerin, Thomas. You could have got King Charles in there because he's supposed to sing to his tomato plants, allegedly.
Well, I don't know if the tomato plants then are actually still healthy or if they suffer when King Charles sings to his tomato plants. But let's say I'll take that as a tip. I am a terrible singer, but next year when my tomato plants are growing, I will try to sing to them and I'll report back to you, Kate, to see if they actually you're making me laugh. if they actually survive.
You know that I'm recording this, right? You may be held to this promise.
We'll talk next summer and I'll tell you how my tomatoes
We'll
grew.
get you to report live from the greenhouse.
I'll sing.
Do you compost?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm not trying to gross you out, but it's a genuine question. Have you ever used a compost toilet?
No, I've never used a compost toilet. It is very basic where we have our garden, but no, I have never used a compost toilet.
So I love them. So any chance I get to use a compost toilet, I do. Because, no, but seriously, I think it's sort of something to do with the way in which we live. And, I live in a city, so this is probably magnified. But, it's really easy to get this sense of us as a species, really, as being sort of parasitical on nature. And then when you're using a compost toilet, you are, literally and directly sort of giving back and helping things grow. And you feel really part of a cycle. And I imagine that gardening is similar.
Look, just as you never imagined that I would compare myself to Angela Merkel in terms of gardening, and you probably never thought that we would end up talking about singing to our tomato plant, I never thought that you would end up talking to me about compost toilets. But here we go. On Inside Europe, we get to talk about everything.
Oh my goodness, I hope my family aren't listening to this because they'll probably be dreading my mealtime conversation this Christmas.
So...
Actually, my mum's a trooper. She was very sceptical, but I have convinced her a couple of holidays ago to try a compost toilet.
Well, I haven't tried a compost toilet, but next year I'll try a compost toilet and I'll try to sing to my tomatoes.
Amazing. Listen, can you maybe give me a couple of concrete gardening tips to be going away with? What would your top tips for the garden be?
I would avoid experimenting a lot without knowing how you're experimenting, because things can go awfully wrong. At the same time, I would try and go out of your comfort zone and maybe try, if you have a vegetable garden, for example, try new vegetables out and see how they work. And something that has helped me a lot is to have a community that can help you also if you have questions. And here at DW, there are actually many people that have either allotments or vegetable gardens or gardens at home, and actually talking to them and saying, look, I don't know what's happening to my tomatoes this year, or how do you do with your pumpkins, or what do you do with all the other vegetables that you have, or how do you compost? It's nice to feel that you're not alone in that passion as well.
Well, on that note, Thomas, I'm going to wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and all the best for a new gardening year.
Merry Christmas to you too. And next time you're in Berlin, you're more than welcome to visit me in the garden, and hopefully you'll be able to see some of my tomatoes.
Wow, well, there's an offer that I certainly wasn't expecting. I think I better swiftly move on, actually, before I get myself into trouble. Somebody that I can always count on to keep me in line is our Brussels correspondent, Teri Schultz. I'll give her a go, although I'm not actually sure she's going to pick up, to be honest, because I've been trying for a while. Let's see if I get any luck this time.
Hello.
Hello, Teri, I've caught you.
Kate, I am in the middle of editing my year-ender story on how the EU counters disinformation.
I'd actually got the feeling that you might have been avoiding me a bit.
I was avoiding you a bit. I don't like to talk about personal things. I only talk about news, and I never avoid you. So yes, you detected that correctly. I was like, nope, I'm busy, very busy, Kate.
Well, it was quite a contrast because whenever I contact you about anything, I mean anything remotely sort of work related, then you're like on it like a flash. I mean to the extent of sending me voicemails from the cockpit of a NATO airplane, which was one of my highlights of this year.
Is true. Filing at 4 a.m. as if needed, always.
What do you do when you kick back and relax?
So, I mean, I am a workaholic and I do work a lot. My genuine top leisure time activity is reading the news. I love it. Like the stories that I don't get to read during the day, I think, okay, when I'm done with my work, whatever I have to write that day, I can read this for fun. And I know that sounds really boring to people, but if you're truly engrossed in the news and if truly your interest and your passion is finding out what's happening in the world, there is no greater luxury than reading stories that you don't need to write about. So this is really what I do. But I do have this one little obsession that if I'm like waiting in the dentist office, which I just was this week, unfortunately, and, and I'm on my phone and I don't, I can't write and I can't look at things properly, I will do this silly thing that I would not advise other people to do seriously. And that is I look on a website on Facebook where they make false images. There's this guy who, he would make joke requests. People would send him photos and say, hey, can you get rid of the lady picking up trash in the background? And he would then put the lady picking up trash in the foreground or something like this, as a joke.
James Friedman.
Yes, exactly. And I loved him. I just couldn't get over how clever he was. But there is this other site on Facebook and it's called Photoshop Help, Edits, and Requests. And these are like good-natured people who are good at this stuff. I mean, possibly as good as him. But it's people who have genuine requests like, oh, my father died last year and I would just love if we could, update this photo of him that's tattered and torn or discolored or, blurred. And somehow these magicians with photos, they bring back the essence of these photos. They make them vibrant. They bring people alive. A lot of these are really requests from people who have lost relatives and want to see them again, sort of in all their glory. And they help them. And I mean, really, there are very few times that I've looked at it where people are doing anything mean-spirited or even making fun of them, because most of their requests are genuine calls for help, sort of emotional help. I love looking at this. I love looking at how good people are at manipulating images, in this case, for the betterment of the person who's asking. But as you know, Kate, I also work on countering this kind of manipulation for evil purposes.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing sounds so wholesome, but I mean, there's a flip side, isn't there, in sort of an age of fake news and everything. And you're involved in DW's lie detectors project, aren't you?
It's not a DW program, but there are a lot of DW people who are volunteers with this program. It's called Lie Detectors, and it's actually an independent journalist-led organization which brings journalists into classrooms of students as young as 10, 11, 12, and another group at 15, 16. And we teach them, basically what we're trying to do is make healthy skeptics out of them, looking at news items, looking at photos and saying, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. I'm not going to forward it, because we see so much disinformation being spread through teens coming from, the Kremlin, coming from the Chinese government, coming from sources that want to literally destabilize society. And they perceive correctly that teens are a really easy community because they're constantly looking on Instagram, forwarding things. They don't really care if it's real or not, as long as it's funny. And so one of the things I do as often as I can is go teach kids literally how to do reverse image search. So while I'm saying, oh, I love these faked photos, I also would like to put out a plug for these online tools that can help you find out if this is a fake image.
Honestly, this is not why I rang you up, but I've got some kids who are coming up to that first age bracket, the sort of 10, 11, 12 age bracket. And this is so useful. So reverse image search. I just go...
Google.
How do I do it?
Google reverse image search, and you can put a URL in there if it's just a photo, or you can upload a photo. And you can teach your kids, and your kids are young enough. Mine are already, apathetic teens, but we really want kids as young as yours, Kate, to learn how to do this, because then you teach them that it's a game and that it's fun to figure out if this is a fake image. And then, of course, you say, all right, you would never forward that to your friends. That's what we try to do with the younger students, is try to make them healthy news consumers and to trust their gut when something doesn't look real.
Listen, I don't want to keep you for long, Teri, because I know that you've got a piece actually on disinformation.
On disinformation, that's correct.
Did you plan that?
No, but you caught me just at that moment.
Amazing. But listen, before I go, I just had to ask after your cat, because last year, I know around Christmas time you adopted a Ukrainian cat. How's the cat doing?
This is exactly true. My darling Sisu, she still runs the universe. She has more personality than, I've probably had 20 or 30 cats in my life because I was a rescuer, and she has the personality of all of them in one. So I remain so grateful that she found her way to me.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, listen, Teri, we wish you all the very, very best for a very happy Christmas. And I shall think of you now every time that I use Google reverse image.
Let me know how the kids like it. You could give them as a Christmas gift experience. We're going to learn how to do reverse image search. That's the kind of awful mom I am. Do better, Kate, do better. All the best to our listeners also for 2024. I'll definitely be back with some stories.
Well, there certainly will be lots of stories for Teri to cover in 2024, since it is, of course, European elections year. To make sure that you don't miss any of our coverage, do make sure that you're subscribed to our podcast on whichever platform you use. I'm Kate Laycock in Germany. You're listening to Inside Europe. So far, with our Christmas ring round, we have been scrupulously fair. Nobody has been asked twice. Everybody's had just one bite of the festive cherry, or should that be sugar plum? I am, however, about to make an exception, and that is for our Dutch-born Budapest correspondent, Stefan Bos. The reason being that he is just such a consummate showman that I can't resist the temptation to ring out the year to the sound of his ebullient jazz crooning. So here goes.
Hello, Stefan Bos speaking. Good morning.
Hello, Stefan Bos. Stefan Bos in Amsterdam or Stefan Bos in Budapest? I feel like you've been everywhere this year.
No, I'm in the Netherlands.
So is this going to be a Dutch Christmas for you then?
Yes, it is actually going to be a Dutch Christmas, which is a little bit different than usually when I'm in Budapest in Hungary. But it's also very interesting to see it this time around in the Netherlands, especially after the recent elections, and how it is going and how people come together is still nice to see, I think.
So I very much want to stay in Christmas mode. Sorry, it's going to be a busman's holiday, otherwise, isn't it? We're just going to end up talking politics. So, Stefan, you're back by popular request.
Oh, really?
Well, last year you sang "Fly Me to the Moon" down the phone to me, and everyone in the studio was just sort of swooning. So yeah, we had to have you back. Are the Gypsy Jazz clubs, are they still a big part of your life? Because I know that your main sort of passion is hanging out in the Gypsy Jazz clubs of Budapest, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It is still part of my life. Also discovered recently a club. It's called the Budapest Jazz Club, where there are amazing jam sessions as well. So I had the opportunity.
But Stefan, you sent me a WhatsApp voice recording. Is that where this came from?
Well, actually, that was from the Budapest Jazz Club. That was from the jam session. They came around the table, and then we It was an impromptu concert.
I was in the car with my husband when I got that message from you, and I saw it's going to be a work message, so I clicked on it, and then suddenly there was this sort of beautiful sort of Frank Sinatra rendition, and my husband was like, "Who is that?"
Yeah, no, but I mean, yeah. So it's a big fun. It's a big fun to do, and also what you have here, because there's some connection, I would say, between Hungary and the Netherlands, especially also, if you see some of the jazz.
Is this? Do I sense a segue coming? Are you trying to do a link here? Have you got something planned?
What is planned actually is, there is. What is really amazing, I think, is there is the port city of Rotterdam. Where there are so many different cultures are coming together, and the interesting thing is that there may have been recently a right-wing party becoming number one, but that port city, is led by a Moroccan mayor already for many, many years. And really what is interesting, I think, about the city of Rotterdam, that the people come together, also especially around Christmas. And there is actually a song which I think is very popular in Rotterdam, but it's also very jazzy. And it is, about the Christmas in Rotterdam, and it was actually first sung by his name is Lee Towers. Actually, he's a Rotterdam musician.
Would you give us a taster of it, Stefan?
Okay, let me just see if it's possible. Let me just see if it works here. So 1 second. Ga van kerstkaart op de voordeurmat. E van Euromast, de piek van onze stad. De R van Rotte waar geen ijs op glijdt. De S van het stadhuis verlicht en de T van witte trouwerij. Ja, kerst in Rotterdam is feest in huis. Eventjes geen haast, we blijven met z'n allen thuis. Een boom prachtig versierd en de tafel mooi gedekt. En met een sneeuwbui wordt het allemaal perfect.
Now, what Stefan Bos simply could not have known is that the port of Rotterdam is actually my very own gateway to Christmas, since it is from there that I am due to take the night ferry over to England to spend time with family over the holidays. A massive thanks to all our wonderful correspondents and contributors to this show and also throughout the year. Also to our listeners, both new and old, and to our sound engineers. This week we were helped by Thomas Schmidt. Also, of course, Mrs. Inside Europe herself, our senior producer, Helen Seeney. I'm Kate Laycock. Inside Europe comes to you from DW in Germany.
De S van snel nog eventjes naar de T van Toto toe. Oh, kerst met jou in Rotterdam, mislopen in de wind. Een bakkie doen in het café als de kou het heeft verdrinkt. De mooiste tijd van heel het jaar, dat blijft de kerst voor mij. Maar dan wel in Rotterdam, met jou erbij, my baby. Maar dan wel in Rotterdam, met jou erbij. Maar dan wel in Rotterdam, met jou erbij.